asking now. You know? Yes.
Giving a severe wardrobe malfunction. My stockings keep falling
I
down.
wasn't going to ask if you were doing that.
So we only have 4. Now I ask you.
I love my seating arrangement.
Good.
Hands to the left hand of God the Father. But also to the right hand of the Almighty. The Almighty JC.
Yeah. You know, I tell people they're powerful emotions.
What was that?
I tell people there's a powerful emotions.
Oh yeah. When sometime after I had been to school, right?
So I'm gonna ask.
Don't start a fire on the dance. Don't start a fire on the dance. And once a few years after I had taken my seat, I crossed my mind to send my dad a link to the bio so that he could brag on his son. And so I could learn exactly where else. So I looked up the page, and instead of little Powell, it said little Powell. Like, all of Tom Petronio, what's going on here? So it was always really wanted.
How you doing?
Good.
This was a substitute reservoir and done.
Oh, Tom. Before I forget, I heard that the name change for QA wasn't forwarded.
I'm sorry. I think we should just suspend the rules.
Can we just have it, if I make a motion just to bring it to the full board next month?
Get your votes
Is that
lined-
okay?
Get your votes lined up. Basically, we should put it on the agenda.
Because I have it.
Put it as a new item.
Yeah.
Use it for the next meeting.
Yeah.
Get your 4 votes. I assume it'll be me, Alan, you,
Fan and Malik.
and we'll just make a motion. Let's make a motion to suspend
Yeah.
the rules. I'll second it.
Okay.
Suspend the rules and pass this.
Yeah. Motion for next month. Put it under the a new item for next month.
Name kids and
Yeah. Is
Yeah,
that cool?
unfortunately, the committee is
I know.
incorrigible.
I know. It's all right.
Why
I just
convene it as
I
infrequently as
heard
possible.
about it and I'm like, okay, and so I'm like, okay, if I have to do something, it's today.
Come on.
I know. It's just a name change. And you know what? With CIGR, I was like, all right, whatever. But with this one, it's like, it truly is like you're talking about widgets. Like, it's really. Anyway. Yay! Oh, this is my.
Today is what's today?
Now you know what we're in. But for 2 years, they're thinking, this guy's gone.
1, 2, 3, 4.
So,
Kind of quorum. Just the 4 of us. Just us lonely 4 today.
Alan, Jim, Van is. He had a 4-day hour. You look frustrated.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
I don't have a plan. Oh, yes, I do. Yeah, okay. Oh, we're not going to bring him up. I should talk to him. That's what's the answer? He says, don't leave him. Oh, he's gone.
I can believe him. God damn it, Linda. I don't give a shit. But you have to understand.
You kosher here?
Yeah, we're fine. We table.
busting again today? I see you too.
Next item on there.
Yeah, it is. I just say, not again. It should be later.
Wait, he's last on the agenda, so we can adjourn.
I don't have it yet. Anything else going on?
He's very last. He's the very last speaker. So, Melissa here. $6:30. What time does Obama speak? 8, 9. Meeting of the Board of Education is now called to order. We have a quorum, so we will get started, and we will begin with item 1 on the agenda, the act of reverence and pledge allegiance to the flag, and we will have it led by our student representative, Ms. DeLoss.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America
and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. We have received minutes from the August 7th Board of Education meeting. You all should receive them in your have received them in your Friday packet. Can I have a motion to approve the minutes?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion or comments or corrections to the minutes? Hearing none, all those in favor of accepting the minutes from August 7, 2008, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? The ayes have it. Those minutes are approved. We don't have any speakers addressing an agenda item. We will move to item number 4, the superintendent's report. Mr. Superintendent.
Good evening. A few things to report tonight. We have one quick presentation to the Board of Education. Of course, we've got a lot going on preparing for schools to open next Wednesday, first day of classes. We have a number of things in place in terms of safety, in terms of curricula, in terms of even schools moving locations. We will publish to the community by early next week all of our goals as a district after the Board of Education actually receives those. We'll be outlining everything from grade 3 to grade 8 in terms of ELA mathematics, as well as graduation rate projections for our next year. Before we jump into our presentation, I'd like to introduce 2 new cabinet members. One is going to present with me in the presentation, and I'll be waiting for my human resources folks to give me a couple of others. But one individual we're very, very pleased to have on board as our new chief for youth development and family services. I believe her first day of work will be September 22nd. And her name is Gladys Pedraza Burgos. If you hear Gladys. Gladys comes to us from the University of Rochester School of Medicine and Dentistry, a native Rochesterian who grew up in the northeast part of town, what used to be called the Children's Zone. First in her family to have attended college, by the way. So we welcome her, and she'll bring some work to us in terms of guidance, youth development, family services, etc. The second person I'd love to introduce is one of our own, Dr. Jeanette C. Silvers, as the new Chief of Accountability. Jeanette, are you here? Jeanette has been in charge of research, evaluation, and testing for the last 7 years, and she was a reading teacher in the district for over 22 years. So homegrown and a phenomenal person. And we'll talk a little bit today about what we are planning on doing this year, especially around accountability. We spent the past 2 days as a cabinet retreat talking about some of this work. So what you'll see in the next 5 to 10 minutes really is an overview of the work we did this afternoon in preparation for accountability. And I'll introduce the last 2 once we finish. So if I may ask the Board of Education to please take this on the outside. achievement, equity, and accountability. So this is a big piece of our reform effort. You'll see in the next 5 to 10 minutes, we're hoping to accomplish in the next year or two. We're rolling this out, of course, this is coming school year. If you're not familiar with the two words, dashboards and scorecard, I think you're pretty good understanding what we mean by accountability, making sure that what we do is transparent to this community. It's a great quote from Dr. Tom Malone, who was the president of Milton and Company. And when you read this, I broke my nose 5 times and lost 1 of my teeth in football. Do you think I do that? There was no scoreboard at the end of the field. Very often in education or business, we do think about having clear, concrete goals and objectives and ways of measuring that as you go along. We need to change that, of course. And what you'll see mirrors a lot of great work taking place in the biggest cities in this country. And this is the big wording. The first is definition of accountability per Wikipedia. But you can see it talks about an obligation to report, to explain, and be answerable for results and consequences when it comes to looking at data. Our collective challenge is to create here a culture of accountability to make sure that everyone up and down the line knows exactly what they're responsible for and what the work is, and for them to have to measure the success of our district. And for it to work, it needs to be systemic. It has to include, again, all stakeholders, central office, principals, teachers, students, families, and the public. All of us take part in this work. Fair, accurate, and coherent, transparent, and it must be living, meaning that allow for adjustments as you go along. If you say the goal is 60% next year, and we actually reach 62, I would push that to a higher level as you go along. So very simply, moving from a culture of compliance to a culture of performance. So it's not just meeting state and federal requirements, but how do you go beyond that? Moving from a nuclear definition of success to a shared definition of success. You can underline the word shared. From one size fits all, from one of uniformity to one of differentiation. Not every school's the same, not every child's the same. The work shouldn't be the same for everybody, the goals should not be the same for everyone. Moving from a focus on just absolute performance to one that focuses on absolute performance and value progress. Because a school has a 90% graduation rate does not mean it's a great school. You have to take a look at kids coming in, what they're performing at, and watch them bringing it 4 years later. So value add is tremendously important. The same way if you have a school that has a large numbers of special ed and ELL kids, and they have a 50% graduation rate, you don't say they're not successful. See what they've done, the kids that they're getting. One moving from decisions based on anecdotes and whim to one based on data. And again, we don't just mean numbers, and mathematics, and other kinds of data as well. So PM is performance management. And what does it look like in terms of looking at students, parents, and community? Today, in our academy, we define what we mean by this. One for students is that students need to be able to know what we expect of them. And they should be able to look at the report card and tell you how well they did, and where they're struggling, and where they can improve. They should be able to look at exams and be able to know exactly where their deficiencies are and where they're succeeding at to inform that kind of conversation. Parents should be able to take a look at our scorecard, our report cards, online, and be able to understand really what's expected of their children and how they can support them in the learning process. And that's really part of the work. And of course, community is very big. Going from universities, accepting students, making sure our transcript and everything else is transparent and meaningful for them, to business, to larger community. No matter how you define this, really, for people to be able to listen and see exactly what's going on. You spend quite a bit of time around this. If you're living, say, in North Dakota, and you want to move to Rochester, how do you know which schools are great? How do you know how well the district is doing? What do you look for? What do you find? Many of us know if you try to navigate the state website, it's tremendously difficult to really understand if a school's doing well or not doing well, who actually move to or not move to. We all know young people, young professionals, when moving to communities, schools, a big piece of the conversation. So for them to get a transparent way of looking and finding that kind of information is what we aim to do. Jeanette, do you want to pick up again?
And the way we're going to try and do this now is to create a dashboard. This is your whole picture. As you can see how big it is with all the data and everything across the state and across our district. Things are all the things that are going on. But we want to try and pinpoint our our one place, East High School. How is East High School doing? We see ELA going on, we have math, and we have a daydreamer. The next, and what we want to know is what? What are we doing in the ELA 11? What's happening with the math class? What is our daydreamer doing? Does he not get it? Is he bored or is he just confused? What does the building performance demonstrate? What are these key factors that impact 1 to 4? We go to looking at a dashboard that is live data, immediate, and what we want. When we go to the Q&A meetings all the time, that's the question that's always asked. Why can't we get it? Why can't we see a school and what the school is doing? The dashboard will help us do that, and the school scorecard will give a big picture of what actually is happening in our district. What is the criteria? The data dashboard should match the criteria in the school scorecard. This should link with allow schools to use their formative analysis and the dashboard monitoring so that the schools can see on a continuous basis what's happening in their school at any given time so that they can immediately correct it, take care of it, and proceed down to get the scores up and to help their individual students. What we see is the formative analysis, which is really the dashboard. It's informing instructions right down into the classroom, down to the nitty-gritty of the student. And then, in the end, the school scorecard will tell us about the summative analysis. Let's look at the whole big picture. Let's see what the school actually is doing. And like Mr. Broussard said, a 90% doesn't mean that that school is doing the best that it can do. It may mean that the first school that's doing 50% is outperforming that school because they have a lot more obstacles. So what does our data board look like? It's going to be a pictorial picture of representation of the aggregated data. What does that mean? It means that the data, which we have been giving on a one-page sheet with all our little numbers, will now become a pictorial version so that all schools can see immediately what they are doing. The school, it will look like this. Philadelphia has one right now, and this is what it looks like. You can go in at any given time, and you can see how your school is doing in any subject for their grades, what a teacher is doing, and what the classroom is doing. Oakland also is doing that, and they have right down to the nitty-gritty where the parent can actually get on and see how their child is doing, can see the scores and what's going on in that building for that teacher. You can also see as a district how the district is doing at this level so that we can immediately see what's happening to our schools and where do we need to put the resources. When you go down to the nitty-gritty, you'll see to the student, you'll see a bar graph of how he's performing over time. You'll look at the acuity, the GRA, any formative assessments that are going on in the school, you'll see how the child is doing. So we actually know, are we reaching that child? The school scorecard will take the whole twofold. It will take the whole picture of what's happening on a daily basis and go at the end with one snapshot to say, this is the outcome of what you've done all year long. Only very few schools or districts, large districts, are doing it. They're trying to implement it in Baltimore, Houston, and Washington. We already looked at Houston's. We saw New York City in a presentation in how they're coming up to their final end. New York Public Schools, that's what it's looked like. We talk about the school environment, we talk about the school performance, the progress, and additional credit, the overall score of the school. This was designed with the stakeholders sitting at a table and deciding what really needs to be in a school scorecard so that we can see what's going on in that school. This is the when you aggregate it out, this is exactly the different pieces in each one of the school environments, including attendance and suspensions for your school environment, the performance of your New York State test, but also about the growth that the student is making. A school may not be making AYP because it's not performing at what the state says, but that school may be showing more growth around compared to its other schools doing much better. What would we want to look at? When I looked at all the different learners, special ed, mobility, poverty. They're looking at the grades of students. They're also looking at the test scores. They're looking at school climate, which is very important in a school. Teacher attendance, student attendance, suspensions, and that would be disaggregated with the student subgroups. Measuring extracurricular participation. Surveys to ask, are our expectations high? Our college prep, are they prepared and need to be a global to enter the workforce as a global student? Respectful practices, are they supportive and responsive to their culture and their racial backgrounds? The other thing is the building conditions. Are my floors clean? Are the tables in my cafeteria clean? Is there toilet paper, soap, and paper towels in a bathroom? Special programs. Even though we have a lot of programs, what are they doing on the end side of these programs? Are we producing graduates to enter the workforce so that they're ready for whatever is out there when they graduate in either 12 to 40, whatever length they're here? The secondary performance accountability areas. We're going to look at things like advanced placement. How many of our students actually get the credit for those advanced placements and then go to college? We want to look at advanced Regents diplomas or Regents diplomas. How many of our students who are in these programs actually accomplish their goals? Graduation rate, dropout. What's our timeline? Phase 1, we're going to start right now. We're starting right now. We're putting our committee together, and we're going to take a look at some of these pieces of what do we want a school scorecard to look like, and what do we want that dashboard to have. Phase 2 will be in the winter when we call for vendors. Scorecards, we're going to have the same phase because both are going to be working simultaneously, because what we have for the scorecard has to be in that dashboard in order to move it over so that we can analyze all of it. This will give the question real-time data in a timely manner so that everyone can see the school and everyone can judge what's really going on in their buildings. Any questions? Any questions?
Did you know the job for 2 days?
Whoops, here I go again. Block it. Jeez. I sort of like this. How dare they say we're not transparent when we do our work?
Oh, yeah. Do you have anything else? Okay.
This has got to be a violation of the open meeting law.
Here's Johnny. No, just kidding. Questions for the superintendent. I'll just say that I really appreciate the way this has been rolled out. Looking forward to hearing how it will work. I think I especially like that we're even looking at the school environment, because I think sometimes we forget that the environment of the school can actually may have a determining factor on how our students do, how clean the schools are, whether or not there's toilet paper and soap in the bathrooms. I think that that's important. I'm glad that that is part of the overall structure that you're looking at putting together with this dashboard. So thank you. Commissioner Powell.
My observation is that I can see that you're looking to do state-of-the-art reporting. And even before we had state-of-the-art reporting, we had the best that the district could put together, very much thanks to Mrs. Silver's work in the research and testing department. The real test, however, will be when the committee observes that data and someone can actually answer the question, so what are we going to do differently? And that's always been the sticking point in the district. It's been all about pulling the data together. Do we have everything? But folks haven't made that fundamental shift towards looking at what that data means and what you can do with that knowledge.
It really is a fantastic point, and this is where we talk about adjustment and intervention. It's one thing to have a lot of information, but you've got to ask the right questions, and you've got to know what to do once you have sort of the problem identified. Right now, what we have a little bit too much of, not just in our district, but in too many districts across the country, is what many refer to as DRIP, D-R-I-P, data-rich, information-poor. This is a way for us to get at those, to mine all of the information that we know exists in our district and present it in a way that's usable, not just to the public, to inform the public, but to inform teachers and principals on what they need to do next. So yes, the execution, the intervention, the adjustment is where the work will really lay.
Thank you. Vice President White.
Yeah, just sort of piggybacking on your comments, Mr. President. I would also add, on a personal note, it is good to see, I mean, people often talk about, oh, well, the superintendent ought to be hiring people from outside and identifying the best and brightest folks from across this country. Well, Jeanette is a perfect example of promoting from inside. And I tell you, she's only been on the job 2 days, and she talks about quality assurance. But I watched her during quality assurance, and I'm going to be honest with you, I thought at times she was frustrated, not being able to do the job that she wanted to do. And I see her now as being unleashed. And that is so encouraging. It is so encouraging to see that. And I look forward to your reports in quality assurance. Congratulations. Well deserved.
And if I may just piggyback on that, one of the things that we did in this reorganization was to painfully go to a lot of people to find those diamonds and make sure they were shining. Not to just bring people from the outside, but to look at the talent that we have within the building and to allow people to come out. Yes, the job is to, my job anyway, is to find the best musician and unleash them. And I think we found a gem. Thank you. And by the way, I'm sorry, just one thing. And of course, once Ms. Burgos gets settled in after she comes on the 22nd, we'll come back and present as well on the wonderful work we know she's going to be doing for us as a district.
Thank you. Commissioner Campos.
I was just going to say it looks like a picture's worth 1,000 words, and it's so much easier when you can actually see data and see that picture rather than read it. So that is absolutely fantastic, and then what a great job that Jeanette did, and it looks like you do have 2 diamonds, and you truly have a class act in Gladys, and I want to thank you for making sure to have a diverse cabinet, because let me tell you, Gladys is going to be a mover and shaker, and we're excited to have her too.
Commissioner Brennan.
Nothing to, if you can't improve on silence, don't try to.
Thank you.
This is fine. Yeah, you've all said it very well.
Mr. Superintendent, that concludes your report.
That concludes my report.
Thank you. We'll move to board committee reports. I have a very brief president's report. I also just wanted to welcome to the district Gladys Burgos and congratulate Jeanette Silvers on her new title and job here. Gladys was my counselor in college, and I know, and I graduated. So that shows how great she is. She got me through U of R. So congratulations to both of them. I know that they will be tremendous assets to this district. I also like to, I forgot to do this at the last meeting, congratulate Linda Stagels from the Grants Office. Is she here? Is Linda here from the Grants Office?
Yes.
If she could just stand up. $6 million Safe Schools grant recently awarded to the district in collaboration with the County Health Department and County Exploration. And I believe it's a $1.5 million per year grant over 4 years. Anyone that's traveled to Washington, D.C. with Linda or anywhere else where she's lobbying on behalf of this district, she constantly is fighting for the students of the district, and I just wanted to congratulate her and the district for this for that great grant that we'll be receiving. And I know just briefly the funding will allow expansion of the primary mental health project to 9 more sites, the expansion of the PATH promoting positive alternative thinking strategies to 4 more elementary school sites, the continuation of pilot sites and training components for the integration of schools and mental health systems, plus expansion to 5 new elementary sites, staff support for the mental health services contracts for the student and family support centers, expansion of the OLERIS bullying prevention program to 2 new sites, plus school bus drivers training district-wide, school safety and security resources for training, equipment, and facilities audits, and planning and support for youth in transition back to schools for mental health care, incarcerations, and drug rehab. So this is a big deal. and we got to do a better job, definitely, of patting ourselves on the back when we do these things. So this is going to be great. Also, I wanted to, I had the opportunity, along with Commissioner Campos, to attend the August graduation event for Tuesday at Hochstein for students. There were over 150 new graduates to the city school district. That was a absolutely tremendous event. Thank you to the superintendent and his staff for putting that on. I was honored to be there, and I believe those graduates will count in our cohort.
Yes.
So congratulations on a great event. We had a public hearing scheduled on September 4th for charter schools. That is canceled because, from my understanding, the charter school has withdrew its contract for admission to the state. So there won't be a public hearing on the charter school because the charter school, that new charter school will not be in existence, at least this coming school year. So I guess that money will stay here at the district. Student report. I know school hasn't started yet, but Mr. Loss, do you have a report for us?
Yeah, I actually do.
Okay.
Good evening, everybody. So this year, the Mayor's Youth Advisory Council, which is a council who advises the mayor, had a youth forum back in June. And what we did was we discussed youth priorities in action. Basically, what are some issues that we can improve on and that are going on in our community, and how we would go about fixing them, because there are no quick fixes. So what I have in my hand right now is some reports for the board that we designed. So pass those down unless there's extras. Also, an update on SLC. Student Leadership Congress will be starting this September. And so far, I have to still send a letter to principals. And we have a set schedule based on when our meetings are going to be, monthly meetings. We have come up with a date. Our first meeting will be September 17th at 3:30. We are still trying to decide whether it's going to be in the superintendent's conference room. We have decided on some activities for the following year. Every other month, we have decided to partner with Wilson Commencement Park, a classroom in K through 2. The clean sweep that we've done in the past, a PSA, and this year's public service announcement that we are trying to focus on is mutual respect between a teacher and a student and appropriate conduct. We have decided to come up with a monthly segment on Students First TV show and our Students First newsletter that goes out to parents and families in the district, basically giving an update. But I think it's also very important that we have youth input in our newspapers and on TV to get some positive publicity. Support, and we've decided that if we can do a drive, we are going to support some type of elementary school, and as well as the Home Library Project, which is a program that we are trying to begin at School 22. Mr. Brizard and I were able to sit down and discuss a program that we can bring in for third graders at School 22, which would be a reading program to improve reading grades and get mentoring experience. So we are looking forward to reading to them. And I extend my congratulations on the graduation on Tuesday, and that concludes my report.
Thank you, Mr. Loss, and also I want to commend you for your composure and your presence yesterday at our meeting with our bargaining units and parents. You did a great job, and we look forward to having you at future events, and welcome as our student rep to the board. We're glad to have you here.
Thank you, Commissioner.
And you're sitting next to Commissioner Powell, who is our senior board member. So if you have any questions or anything, I would urge you to seek out Commissioner Powell. She's been here and she knows the board inside and out.
Thank you. She's guiding me right now.
Commissioner Powell and the Finance Committee.
Thank you. Our Finance Committee was supposed to be last week, but due to attendance issues, it did not happen until Tuesday, and so I had to miss the graduation, as did Commissioner Elliott, unfortunately. Our usual agenda involved reviewing the financial reports, along with budget amendments this month. The Finance Committee did approve the financial reports, and I move that the board accept those financial reports at this time.
Is there a second to receiving the financial reports?
Second.
Seconded by Vice President White. Any discussion? Okay, all those in favor of accepting the monthly financial reports, please say aye.
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 Any opposed? Any abstentions? The ayes have it. Thank you.
Thank you. Commensurate with those financial reports, resolutions 145, the budget amendments. There are three budget amendment resolutions that involve moving, essentially subtracting some funds from the grants revenue and adding them to the operations side of the budget. The issue was that we knew that we were going to have to repay EPI money, but our accounting department anticipated that those funds would be subtracted from our operating aid. When the check actually came, it was subtracted from our grant aid, so budgets had to be altered to reflect that fundamental change. There were other changes to the budget. You should have had an opportunity to look at those. So altogether, we considered resolutions 145 through 161 and resolutions 201 through 203. The budget resolutions are 201 through 203. Resolutions 145 and 146 are final payments to our facilities and capital improvement. Resolutions 147 through 157 are procurement and supply contracts. Resolutions 158, 160, and 161 are other contracts, specifically several contracts for BOCES 2. In addition to that, though, we considered Resolution 159. We had a dilemma of not having a full committee and not being able to actually get a majority vote on the Encompass contract. The board president has made a decision to leave it in the resolution packet as his prerogative. As the chair, he determines what the agenda is. And I fully support that as a finance chair. The disagreements in the committee, I don't think, reflect the merits of the resolution nor the will of this body. So I'm pleased to see 159 still on the agenda. Also, resolutions 156. You have an altered copy on yellow paper. I would ask at this time that I move that we substitute this version for the one in your packet. The Finance Committee made some recommended changes, including the specific identification of Project Lead the Way in a description of what commodity it is that we're contracting for. This is not even really a technical change, but one of simply making it more clear to any observer what it is that we're voting on. So I move that the yellow copy be substituted for the copy in our packet.
Is there a
Second.
Seconded by Commissioner Brennan. Any discussion around substituting the 156 yellow copy, which is at your seat at the dais, for the one that is in the packet that you received? Hearing none. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? The ayes have it. 156, as the copy in front of you, will be substituted in the packet.
Thank you. And the only remaining item on my report is that our next meeting will be September 18th at 5:30 p.m., right in this space here.
Thank you, Commissioner Powell. Questions for Commissioner Powell and the Finance Committee? Hearing none, we'll move on to the Quality Assurance Committee and Vice President White.
Buzzer telling me it's time to give my report. First of all, Mr. President, to my colleagues, let me apologize for the informal attire, but I literally just came from Philadelphia, where I dropped my middle child off at Temple. And it was certainly an emotional moment, and I think it deserves just a brief moment of reflection here. I literally just got back into town. I thought it was appropriate that I at least shave. And if you see me do this, I'm wiping the blood off from how I nicked myself. So I did do everything humanly possible to get here on time and in a presentable manner. But I left the T-shirt on and the jeans on because I thought it was appropriate to at least mention that as we continue to make progress on this issue of graduation, we have to sort of continue to move the bar. We've talked a lot about graduating our seniors, and thanks to Manny Rivera and Bill Calla and Superintendent Jean-Claude Brizard, we've made some progress. But we must also be mindful that the goal is not, and I've heard Jean-Claude say this, is not just graduation. The goal is getting our kids to a point where they can go on to college, vocational training, and so forth. So I wear this shirt to suggest to you that we're moving in the right direction. We clearly are. My two children, I have three children, my two that have attended city schools are evidence of that this is a good district. And in that respect, I wear the T-shirt to say thank you to the principals. One of them is sitting in here today. She's now no longer principal. Of my children, the teachers at Monroe, number 12 school, and Wilson Magnet High School, the counselors, and yes, even to the board members who were here who, but for their support, my children would not have made it. My children never complained that they did not have books, that they did not have the right teachers. That would include, of course, President Evans, Commissioner Brennan, Commissioner Elliott, Commissioner Powell. They were here during the 4 years that my two children were going to school, and I definitely owe them a debt of gratitude. Finally, I would note that I felt satisfied when my daughter graduated, but there was no sense of completion. Today, along with perhaps thousands, maybe hundreds of thousands of parents throughout this country, I felt a sense of completion. And to the district, I say thank you. Now, I do have some business to take care of here. The Quality Assurance Committee met on Wednesday, August 20th at 4 p.m. to discuss the presentation on the Destiny program and the career and technical education programs. I would also like to note, without casting any aspersions on the current administration, who I think is doing a mighty effort to make sure our career and technical education programs are in place for our students, that apparently 15 out of the 26 career and technical education programs that the district offers are not approved by the state. Now, let me remind you, the only reason why we know this is we have an administration that's on top of this, all right? At least 3 of these programs are not approved due to staffing issues. We as a district need to do a better job making sure that all of our CTE programs are approved. It would also be helpful if the district can provide us with a timeline on which we can expect approval of the remaining programs. We as a committee, and I'm sure all my colleagues on the board would agree with me on this, one of the ways we keep kids in school is to have them interested and engaged in educational programming, and CTE programming is one of the ways to do that. I would also like to note for folks' consideration, the Quality Assurance Program Committee is trying to make sure that we have a diverse agenda and that we solicit input from throughout the community. Dennis Richardson, someone who is well known in this community, who is head of Hillside, and his staff will provide a brief presentation on the Hillside Work Scholarship Program on October the 9th at the Quality Assurance Committee meeting. The next Quality Assurance meeting will be on Thursday, September 27th at 5:30 p.m. Thank you for your indulgence.
Thank you, Vice President White. Questions related to the Quality Assurance Committee report? Okay, Commissioner Campos and the CIGR Committee.
Okay. The Community and Intergovernmental Relations Committee, we met on August 12th, and Commissioner Elliott actually joined us. And although we are pursuing avenues to having the dropout age raised from 17 to 18, we're also asking that the issue be referred to the Quality Assurance Committee for research on the potential impact on academic achievement. And Commissioner White, he's a member of both committees, and I'm sure he'll facilitate it just fine. We're also drafting a letter to our federal representatives regarding amendments to the Americans with Disabilities Act, which for public school systems could amount to a new unfunded mandate. And the Council of Great City Schools is opposed to the measure as it could impose new costs for the district without demonstrated benefits for students. And I'd like to personally thank Linda Stagels for attending the meeting and also keeping us informed on these items. And our committee has asked that President Evans contact Council President Santiago regarding a joint session to discuss how we can collaborate regarding state funding, maintenance of effort, mayoral control, truancy, and other issues that affect the city and the district. And we'd like to see a first joint session take place in late September or early October. And one of the new agenda items that we had talked about was there's a program called 5 by 5 in Denver, in which children are exposed to at least 5 cultural experiences by the time they're 5 years old. And this is a terrific example of what the city and the school district, when working in partnership, can accomplish for the good of the children. And CIGR is looking at how we can initiate something similar here, and in looking at what the superintendent is focused on, whether it be in secondary or through the 7th, 8th, and 9th grades, there might be some opportunity there. So, and our next meeting is September 15th at 5, and everyone is welcome to join us. That concludes my report.
Thank you. And there was an action item. I will refer to the Quality Assurance Committee, the dropout age increase. Also, I will state that I spoke with folks over at City Council. They are interested in having a joint meeting. And we will also revive, Commissioner Powell is probably the only one that was here when we used to have these. We will be reviving the old 3-on-3 meetings where three board members go and meet with 3 city council members on a quarterly basis to talk about issues of mutual concerns. They are interested in doing that, so we will work with our secretaries to get that back on the calendar. Commissioner Brennan?
Just a quick question. These meetings with city council are commendable. Is the mayor going to be involved in any of these meetings, or is there any interest in that?
Oh, I'm not sure about if you wanted the mayor involved in the.
My understanding was that was a clear intent.
Yeah.
But I'm sure he would
He's
be
had
invited.
a lot to say about the school district, and there's, I think, a lot more common ground than maybe is generally supposed in
The more the merrier.
The more-
conversations.
So we can also extend an invitation to him as well.
I
And
just, if I
yes,
could just
Commissioner
chime
Powell.
to say, historically, it has not included the superintendent or the mayor. Historically, has included president of the board and council, finance chairs of each, and 1 representative from the administration each. But historically has not. That doesn't mean it can't.
President, yes, I just want to say again, for emphasis, that I really care less what we did historically. The discussions that we have had regarding, what City Hall has had to say about, including everybody's favorite subject, the whole issue that comes up in the legislature every year with respect to mayoral control, I think the public would really appreciate, before we took away their right to elect their board, if the mayor, who they esteem, and the board that they elected, as well as the city council members, would sit down and make an effort to sit down and talk. I think they'd be appalled to know that conversation has not taken place, not in the 2.5 years I've been here, not once. And I don't think that's a good thing. I don't think that's in the public interest. And so I think there's an urgent need to include him in these discussions in a friendly way, in an amicable way, and hopefully a constructive way. I think the premise is that there is a great deal more common ground, and as we all know from all of the rumors about the supposed differences that we have and the acrimony that's supposed to attend them, we know the relationship is much better than it's often reported or than people suppose it is, and I think that would be the case as well with the mayor, with city council. But the first step is that people have to sit down and talk to each other. It's so, I feel kind of funny having to kind of state the obvious with such a sense of discovery, but we need to do it.
Thank you. And Commissioner Brennan, we're up to you in the Policy Committee report.
We met on August 11th, a few days after the special meeting on August 7th, and we acted on 3 items which we forwarded to the board on the 21st of August with attached materials. Those include an amendment to Policy 6725, the responsible bidder policy. This amendment's being forwarded as an information item with discussion and a vote anticipated at our September 25th meeting. I'm sure Commissioner White will be very happy to hear this. It was his proposal, and there have been a great many glitches and delays, but it's on track now, and we thank him. Policy 5300, the Code of Conduct, is in your dais packet, the complete document. We're forwarding this as an information item with discussion on it anticipated for September 25th and a vote on October 23rd. And also, as an information item, the superintendent regulation and discipline regulation of discipline and intervention proposal is also forwarded only as an information item. We anticipate more action on it next month. If there are substantive revisions, I would expect that they would go back to the policy committee for review. The policy committee also discussed the board's policy manual. We're arranging for a representative from Erie BOCES 1 to make a presentation to us regarding its policy manual update services for our next meeting, which is September 8th. We anticipate a resolution for the full board regarding the proposed update for the September 25th meeting, and we will keep you all informed. We are not calling a committee meeting of the whole for September 8th, but we strongly ask and encourage that as many members as can attend for input on this important process. And that concludes the report.
Thank you, Commissioner Brennan. Questions for Commissioner Brennan or comments? Commissioner Powell.
Commissioner Brennan, is the timetable anticipated that this would be a discussion item in September and then voted on in October, or are we going to discuss this tonight and vote on it in September?
Discussion. Since there are revisions being contemplated, we would discuss it next month and vote the following month.
Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you. I have one last...
One question.
There's the questions around policy?
Yeah.
Okay, Commissioner Campos and then Commissioner Vice President White. Commissioner Campos.
I just wanted to clarify, one of the items that was moved to policy from QA was the possibility of a name change. Changing it from excellence in student, or changing it from quality assurance to excellence in student achievement. And the mere purpose is these are students, and let's start talking about that. Quality assurance is such a corporate term that it's just like widgets. But anyway, so it was transferred, I know, to policy, and I believe no action.
I can speak to this, just perhaps helpfully. I have had no objection to anybody changing the names of any committees, but apparently the other two have felt that perhaps, and they can speak for themselves, but that this was unnecessary. I, therefore, requiring 2 votes for this to get out of the committee, simply were not there. I would point out, you know, in as friendly and cheerful a way as possible, that we do retain the option, I think, under our rules, to suspend the rules if the majority of the board wishes to make this change. We could do that without it going through the committee if 4 board members feel there's a compelling justification to do that and wish to do it. But the opposition to it, I think, is in good faith, as is the proposal, and it's probably something we wouldn't want to spend a disproportionate amount of time fighting about, but I'll leave that to the rest of you.
Thank you. Anything else, Commissioner Campos, on that?
I'd like to make a motion, if we could, to bring it to the full board next meeting under new business, if we could.
You can bring it up under new business at the next
Yeah.
board meeting.
Yep.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Commissioner Vice President White.
Yeah, to Commissioner Brennan, thank you for forwarding what is proposed to be an amendment to policy number 6725. For those of you, I know we're going to talk about it next month, but for those of you who don't know, this is the responsible bidder policy. It basically requires that the district have guidelines for public works contracts to make sure that the bidders are responsible. It listed a number of things like you couldn't be in violation of OSHA, no criminal conduct, you weren't a responsible bidder if you engage in criminal conduct, if you weren't a responsible bidder if you lack proper certification. I had proposed that in addition to these 8 or 9 criteria that the district has to look at, that we add, and given my prior practice, this made perfect sense to me, any adverse determinations or administrative rulings by the EEOC or the New York State Human Rights Division. So if you got contractors out there that are discriminating against people based on a decision by the federal government or New York State, they should be looked at. We should not be awarding, my opinion is, we should not be awarding contracts to contractors or bidders who are in violation according to the federal government or New York State Department of Human Rights. This addition is a necessary addition. It perhaps changes the mindset of district personnel, that along with criminal convictions is something that we're serious about. So I'm glad to see that the committee saw the wisdom of this, and I'm hoping that we have a spirited discussion on this, because this is, goes to the core of one of the reasons why I came to the board. We ought to make sure that we look at responsible bidders in terms of how they treat other people, whether they're black, white, women, or people of different age groups. And finally, I would be remiss if I did not thank Bob Smith, the district's able attorney who is assigned to these kinds of matters. He was able to do what I was not, that is, put this in the proper legal language so that it would make sense to everybody else. So thank you, Mr. Smith. I don't see you here, but please communicate my thanks to Mr. Smith. Thank you.
Thank you. Any further questions regarding committee reports in which you've heard? Okay, I have one last report in the absence of Commissioner Williams, who is taking his son to college, Princeton, I believe. I have his audit committee report here. The audit committee met on August 20th at 5:30 and reviewed the 2008-2009 Office of the Auditor General's Risk Assessment and Audit Plan. The OAG audit plan will be submitted to the full board for review and approval at the September board meeting. The committee discussed the audit committee charter. The audit committee will evaluate the contents of the charter at the next committee meeting. The audit committee is also moving forward with accepting recommendations from the full board for the financial expert to join the audit committee. The financial expert is a non-salary position to the board to provide additional financial expertise to the audit committee. And that concludes Commissioner Williams's report. I'll get moving on with the additional resolutions. I know you all want to get home and finish watching the Democratic Convention, which is on tonight. So we'll move right on to the considerations of resolutions. We'll begin with the Human Resources resolutions, resolutions 102 through 144. Those are Human Resources resolution. Is there a motion to approve?
Mr. President, can we separate Resolution 113?
Yes, if there is no objection, I will have we will separate Resolution 113. Is there any objection to that? Okay. So we will vote on resolutions 102 through 144 with the exception of 113, and we will vote on 113 separately.
Thank you.
Let us move with the adoptions of resolutions 102 through 144 with the exception of 102 through 144 with the exception of 113. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Moved by Commissioner Brennan. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Commissioner Powell. Discussions on resolutions 102 through 144 with the exception of 113. These are Human Resources resolutions, so if there were questions related to specific personnel, we would have to go into executive session. Hearing no discussion around those, our student rep doesn't vote on Human Resources resolutions, so I won't ask for an advisory vote, but I will ask all those in favor of resolutions 102 through 144 with the exception of 113 to signify so by saying aye.
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 Anyone opposed? And are there any abstentions to 102 through 144 with the exception of 113? Okay, the ayes have it. We'll move to Resolution 113. Is there a motion to approve Resolution 113?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Commissioner Powell. Discussions or comments around Resolution 113? Hearing none, we'll,
President, just a quick.
Commissioner Brennan?
I apologize. I've got this all screwed up here. If there's to be any discussion of this, it would have to occur in executive session.
That's correct. But we can't take questions that are germane to the topic, such as dates or that matter.
Okay. Do we anticipate discussing this in executive session?
No.
You don't think that's necessary? Okay.
Okay. We'll take a vote on 113. All those in favor of 113, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
I'm abstaining.
Okay. No opposed, one abstention?
Yes.
Okay, we have one
I'm sorry.
abstention. Commissioner
Could
Powell.
our parliamentarian remind us the rules for abstentions? There has to be a clear fiduciary conflict of interest in order to abstain.
Or a family member relationship, or whatever. I don't know if Commissioner White wanted to express anything for
Yeah, it's a funny
There is-
surprise.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
If those are the rules, is a parliamentarian here?
Yes.
Okay. Is just to confirm that,
It's-
is that required? Because that's not the basis of my abstention.
For school board members, unfortunately,
It's
that's
an anomaly in the law.
stated in
Yeah.
our bylaws that the only reason we can abstain is
Family
conflict
or-
of interest or appearance of conflict of interest because a family member might be stated.
I was trying to be rather gracious with this, but that's not the basis for my abstention. I just leave it like that. I assume that's correct?
So you vote no or yes?
I vote no.
Okay. So the ayes have it, and we have one no, so that carries 4-1. Okay, we'll move on to resolutions 193 through 200, which are also human resources resolutions. I will entertain a motion to approve.
So moved.
Second.
Seconded by Commissioner Powell, moved by Commissioner Campos. Questions or discussions around 193 through 200? Hearing none, all those in favor of 193 through 200, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? I vote yes. The ayes have it. Mr. Superintendent, do you want to recognize the various appointments that have just been made?
Absolutely.
I hear some clapping.
Yes. Let me just start with 195. Our new Executive Director for English Language Learners, Ms. Lourdes Hodel. Are you here? Congratulations. And 102, Sylvia Lloyd, our new Instructional Director for School Library. I believe we stole her from Buffalo as well. She's not here tonight. And a number of assistant principals and others have been appointed. Should I? I'll be rather quick. Rosemary Ozetta, if you're here. Sean Walker. David Lincoln. Just stand up, stand up, stand up, stand up. Please rise. Thank you. Charles Smith. Rhonda Morian. Cheryl Donatella. Sharon Lay. Thank you. Sharon Lay. And forgive I spelled your name correctly. Pronounce it. Kimberly Brock. Congratulations. Felicia Drisdale. Congratulations. Caterina Leone Manino, I think. No? Okay. Julie Roselli. And William Conmiller. Congratulations.
Congratulations. Thank you. Congratulations, and congratulations on your new positions. We will now move on to resolutions 145 through 146. 145 through 146 are educational facilities resolutions. I will entertain a motion to approve.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Commissioner Campos. Discussion around resolutions 145 through 146.
Advisory.
Oh, yep. Before I call for the vote, an advisory vote by our student rep, how do you vote on 145 through 146?
I'm overwhelmed.
Yeah.
What was it? 145 through what?
146.
Final payments to facilities.
Oh, aye.
Okay. Hearing no discussion on 145 through 146. All those in favor of approving 145 through 146, please say aye.
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 All those opposed? The ayes have it. 145 through 146 are approved. Mr. Superintendent?
I forgot one name. Apologies. Mr. David Lincoln, if he's here.
David
Congratulations.
Lincoln
Yes.
Okay. Congratulations, Mr. Lincoln. That's a good last name. 147 through 157 are procurement and supply resolutions. Student advisory vote. What's your advisory vote on 145 through 147?
Aye.
157? Aye? Okay, I'll entertain a motion to approve 147 through 157.
Wait, I'm sorry, I lost our place.
Motion for 147. I'm looking for a motion to approve for 147 to
So
150.
moved.
Moved by Vice President White.
Second.
Seconded by Commissioner Powell. Questions or discussions around 147 through 157? Hearing none. All those in favor of 147 through 157, please say aye.
Aye.
The ayes have it. 158 through 192 are other. I will entertain a motion to approve Resolution 158 through 192.
So moved.
Student advisory vote.
Aye.
Okay. Is there a second to 158 through 192?
Second.
Seconded by Vice President White. Discussion or questions around 158 through 192? Hearing none. All those in favor of 158 through 192, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? The ayes have it. 201 to 203 are budget resolutions, which Commissioner Powell referenced in her Finance Committee report. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Vice President White. Discussion around resolutions 201 through 203. Hearing none. Student rep, with your advisory vote.
Aye.
Thank you. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? The ayes have it. Commissioner Powell, would you like to read the gifts?
Oh, thank
Of
you so
individuals.
much. Yes.
We want to thank those gifts.
You know,
Commissioner
once
Powell?
upon a time, we had a board member specifically had the duty of announcing the lowering of the flag when we lost a member of our school families. I like this job a whole lot better. We have a host of gifts from various partners, starting with Diana Lancia, who donated $3,700 for the use of, to be used by the Drama, Visual Arts, and Music departments of School of the Arts. A gift of $1,000 from Macro International to help with instructional supplies at Charlotte High School. A gift from Day Automation Services for $1,500 for field trips for school number 9. $500 donation from Stantec for field trip opportunities at school 43. $650 gift from the American Council on Education to help with student testing and instructional supplies. Gift from M&E Engineering of $1,000 for field trip opportunities at John Marshall High School. A $750 gift from IBC Engineering to be used by the Green Team at School 57. And a $501 grant from UGI Gasmark for field trip opportunities at School 52. Additionally, a gift of foam core plastics valued at $1,200 from Layered Plastics for various district art projects. I think that covers all the gifts, and I thank the community for their support.
Thank you for the gifts, and we also thank you for your support. That concludes our resolution portion of this meeting. Thank you, colleagues, for your indulgence on those. Unfinished business from a previous meeting. We have a human resources resolution, Resolution 20809, number 16, which is unfinished business from the previous meeting. I would ask for a motion to table this on the advice of the superintendent, who is still working on this issue, and hopefully there will be some resolution around this soon.
So moved. So moved.
Moved by Commissioner Brennan. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Commissioner White. A table goes straight to a vote. All those in favor, please say aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? I didn't hear the ayes.
I didn't give us time.
Get it out there.
Aye.
Got to go a little slower.
All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Any noes? Any abstentions? It's quiet as I've ever heard it on the dais. So that will remain tabled. Under new business, is there any new business to come before the Board of Education?
President Evans, just briefly.
Yes, 1 second, Commissioner Powell.
You and I had a conversation, Mr. President, about being the voting delegate at the
Yes.
NISBA convention. I
Yes.
don't know if that requires a board vote. There are two of us attending. Alan Williams and myself are both attending NISBA.
Yes, I was going to ask for the board's indulgence to make Commissioner Powell our voting delegate at the NISBA convention. So that's one item of new business, and I'll get to that. And there was something else too with the Monroe County.
Well, there was, but in follow-up to that, if I am the delegate, will the board trust my judgment on the various votes, or would you like me to provide a copy of the questions that are coming up for vote and bring the matters before the full board in some capacity?
I know last year we trusted your judgment. I don't know
Yes, you did.
with the
And it was a catastrophe.
taxes went up 150%. No, but so I don't know what the pleasure of the board is. I know I think I'm fine. We
That's
have our board members do represent various organizations, so I don't have a problem with that. But can I just get a formal motion to?
It's worth pointing out, by the way, that the delegate is there, and here's the discussions
Right.
that occur that we don't hear.
Right.
So
Exactly.
that's-
So I would just like to get a formal motion to make Commissioner Powell our voting delegate at the NISBA conference.
So moved.
Second.
Seconded by Commissioner Brennan. Any other discussion on that? Okay, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? The ayes have it. Any other new business that I may have missed?
Well, there was the matter of the Monroe County School Board
Right.
Association.
Yeah, and I don't think we need to vote on that. I'm on the steering committee of the executive committee, also the Monroe County School Boards Association. It's very difficult for me to attend those meetings because we have so many of them. So I've asked Commissioner Powell to attend for me the steering committees, and she can update us as we come forward. For those of you that don't know, the School Boards Association is a tremendous resource. We don't use them enough. We definitely should use them a lot more. Judy Siegel and Jody Wadsworth are absolutely excellent over there. So in the spirit of us taking advantage of them and trying to use them to the best of our ability, I've asked Commissioner Powell to go and represent us there. Any other new business, Commissioner Brennan?
Just very briefly, and I probably should have raised this on the occasion of the superintendent's report, but we segued so quickly into the president's report. But I wanted to give the superintendent a chance to update all of us on two things, one of which was mentioned in a story this morning about the hotline, and perhaps explain that for people here who haven't been aware of it. And the other was to update the public on the appointment of the Blue Ribbon Panel, for lack of a better word, to look into the testing issue.
Thank you. Mr. Superintendent,
Sure.
on the hotline and the testing.
Absolutely. It's a collaboration between the district and, of course, the Board of Education staff for people to really have access in a way that will not cause them to be harmed in any way by other members of the community. So people really fall away to approach investigation in a much more rigorous and objective manner. If you remember in the past, our human resources really were the ones who handled a lot of the investigation. So moving that to professionals, whether they are in the board staff around with Anissa, I forgot her title,
Auditor General.
the Auditor General, or through Jim Shepard in our Safety and Security Division, to really get people who know what they're doing on this kind of work as they work with legal in addressing whatever issues come up from staff or from the public. It really is a way to facilitate that conversation for a lot of people. So when you hear allegations, no longer do people have to have a fear of reprisals. So they have a way of getting that information to us and for us to investigate that in an objective manner. In terms of the testing, I have Kristen Barkley, who's working with us in a number of different ways. She is putting the panel together. I believe they're meeting for the first time in about a week, and I'm sitting with them, and we anticipate closing this, hopefully, only a few weeks after. So the goal is to get this thing done as quickly as possible, so to begin to really get into the hood and see exactly what happened. And part of my hope, of course, is that they also look at the number of exams that we give our 7th and 8th grade kids to see if we are, in many ways, over-testing these two grades.
Thank you. Commissioner Brennan?
Just a brief follow-up question regarding the panel. Are you satisfied that that panel will have full access to all of the documentation and ability to question the people involved, to get to the root of why this happened, how this happened? There is sometimes, fairly or unfairly, sometimes suspicion of blue ribbon panels that tend to take touchy subjects and bury them, and panels that don't have the authority or the access to the documentation and to the people they need to get to the bottom of it. And I've had that concern myself, frankly, and I don't know that that's the case this time, but what would you say to reassure people?
I'm completely reassured of that. In fact, Kirsten Buckley, who's the chief liaison to the panel, is an attorney. And as you know, attorneys tend to be the kinds of people who are very objective and will not...
Who you been talking to?
and well-dressed, yes.
Well-dressed, exactly. But you know, I have complete faith in Ms. Barkley, in the fact that she's not the kind of person to mince words, and she would push on the organization to make sure that they're getting exactly what they're looking for.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments for the superintendent on those two items? Thank you. We look forward to the resolution. And I would also add on the whistleblower policy. And it's important to note that the phone line is only a supplement, an add-on, extra step, in addition to our own whistleblower policy, which we passed back in 2005. We will now move to speakers on other than agenda items. We have 4 speakers. Each speaker will have 3 minutes. You will hear a beep when your time has expired, and I will ask you to conclude your remarks, so that way the following people can come forward and deliver their remarks. Before the speakers come up, I do want to announce the next meetings of the Board of Education. September 4th, 2008, there's a special meeting here at 6 p.m., and at 7 o'clock, there's a public hearing on the contracts for excellence. I will note that this is the 3rd meeting that we're having on, as related to contracts for excellence. This is not the first one. It's the 3rd one we're having. But we're having it just to make sure that everyone that wants to participate can participate. And then there's the board business meeting on September 25th, 2008 at 6:30 p.m. And if any other questions that you may have, please visit the board's website, rcsdk12.org/BOE. Our first speaker is Mr. Jason Brown. Mr. Brown, are you here? Please come forward, Mr. Brown, if you're here. Okay, thank you. Is Mr. Ron Ring here? Mr. Ring. I'm here. Glad to see you. Come on up.
Good evening, school board members and us in the audience. I want to honor the Honorable Dan Basila, who's passed away, who used to grace these presidiums or this room with her candid comments about the school board. Student involvement in formulating curriculum, including these courses: world peace, resolve conflicts peacefully with the United Nations interaction, arms control, Cold War arms race is fortunately now over, more self-defense, affordable housing, need for a public works program, daycare at work, study and recreational places, health care, universal health care, education, learn towards everyone being able to afford their necessities and survival of all of us. Cooperative economics, right, left, middle ground synthesis. The left, real need to teach in U.S. schools towards more group process. Protests for peace in Middle East, Afghanistan, Iraq, the Sudan, Colombia, Georgia, and worldwide. Teach ecology, protect the environment. Teach peaceful process, conversation, dialogue, debate, negotiation, and arbitration. Research problems, synthesize opposing views, integrate best of each into a new thesis. Rational reason. Peacemakers, Mr. Mahatma Gandhi and Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., who hopefully do rest in peace and that we can work for peace in their loving honor. Tonight is the 45th anniversary of Dr. King's I Have a Dream speech in Washington. Love your neighbor as yourself. Lord Jesus principle. Universal love. Love all of humanity. Respect each of our worth and humanitarian spirit. Free love. Help one another to feel better. Massages, kind words, birth control, meditation and medication. Constructive dissident. Critical analysis towards peaceful answers. Peace, transcendental prayerful meditation. Yoga, exercise, meditation. Mantras, single words or phrases one says to themselves towards a more peaceful spirit. Thought statements, sentences one says to themselves towards a more peaceful spirit. Aerobic dancing, exercise, meditation, music, all towards inner soul commitment to peaceful coexistence evolution, to ease tension and eliminate violent episodes through spiritual values of respect, spiritual love, concern, listening, and dialogue ability. I got just a little bit more. Can I finish?
Please conclude your remarks.
Okay. Religion, interfaith, ecumenical, as an elective, Christian witness interfaith. I just hope we'll see more peaceful spirit in the schools in terms of theory. Like get the left into the schools, get peaceful spirit, have peace movement people come in to confront ROTC, at least to have some equal time idea. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Ring.
You're welcome. Thanks for the chance to be here.
No, we're glad you're here. Salvatore Timpani. Salvatore Timpani here? Mr. Timpani? Okay, we'll move to our last speaker, Charlie Richardson. Mr. Richardson here?
Going to give Mr. Shepard the night off. I will not take the full 3 minutes. But I do want to say, Mr. Evans, good evening.
Good evening.
Commissioners.
Good evening.
And especially our superintendent of schools. Every week something better is happening. I had the occasion of a family that I'm working with that unfortunately, because they have no transportation, couldn't get here tonight, had a 17-year-old daughter ready to drop out of school, and also a 12-year-old that you thought he was ready to go to college, but he can't read. I brought it to the attention after being stood up by both principals, Mr. Brizard, that he offered at the last meeting if I would leave and get off, so save the taxpayers money for arresting me. He came down and said that he would be glad to speak about what I was talking about. Well, I will tell you what action we're taking. We were able to meet with him in his office out of his busy time. I don't know where he got the time, but he made it. It brought this family right together, and it's setting up education for both these children. And these kids are really delighted. They wanted to come tonight, but due to the fact of the lateness and that, not having transportation, weren't able to. The second thing I want to do is congratulate him on his hotline. This is something that's been needed for a long period of time. And the only question that I have on it, did we check to see if there's a company here in Rochester that could do that instead of having to come out of Georgia? You know, we got Paytech here and that's going to grow, but having a little problem right now. And there's some other companies I just don't know if they would have the same system. But we'd ask that you please take a look at it. The other thing is for our young lady that, I don't know how she does it in the community, but every place that I go that she's speaking in that, she does dynamic work. And I'm glad that the board is now listening to her. Give her a chance for a vote. I want to read something here. It says, students changing their community one public policy at a time. Anybody seen that article? Now I'm going to give the Board of Education a test. You know what tests are in it, right? And I did not give you a script sheet so that you could cheat. I want to ask you, what is lesson study? Does anyone know? Well, we should really look into this because the article is right here. As you know, my wife was formerly a teacher, and it's in the teacher edition of September 2008. It's the most wonderful thing in the world, and it's what a lot of youth have been telling us. Have the teacher involved. What does the youth want to do? What do they want to do? Know ahead of time to know how to teach to them. And unfortunately, the report is coming out that the Explorers did in Rochester. Not many of the city schools completed it. And I'll be bringing a report. I was hoping it was finished today, but it's not. But I'll be bringing it for you for the next meeting. Okay. Thank you so very much. And Superintendent Bizard, I'll tell you, you just keep that up, and I'll tell you what, you'll be president after Obama's out.
Charlie, I wasn't born in this country. I can't happen.
We'll change the Constitution. Thank you. Speakers, I will now entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second?
Second.
We stand adjourned. Thank you.
Here's my pencil. Just reemerged.
So Timber was nice?
We need a little help.
Really made me feel at home.
Yeah. You're not.
Oh, they love Timber. They know this. That's a good, yeah, that's a job. Good seeing you, sir. How's it going, Doc? Good. Good seeing you.
I'm sorry, but I have
That's fine. I would just.
you can be on in the store.
How are you, sir? I'm hanging in there. Nice to see you again. How you doing?
I went from Rochester. I got a lot of food here.
Oh, it's my best friend.
Hi, nice to meet
You know, did you bring me any dinner?
What's with you going to
Sounds familiar. I think I might have told him.